Good evening. I'm Rev Neal Worthington, and I'm here to do a little bit of a recap on the service this morning. It's Sunday evening, but Sunday morning we had a service for which we lost our internet halfway through it. So we have no recording from that occasion, and I thought I'd do it again to just recap so that if you missed the service this morning, or got cut off at one point, then you have it here. So if you've been following with us, you know that we're in the month of November, for which our theme is gratitude. And that gratitude theme we'll discuss in several different ways. But for this week, we have the title, and we will discuss in everything give thanks. So I'm sure that you know the story of the first quote unquote Thanksgiving, although there is some debate about whether it was the first Thanksgiving. But I'm talking about the Plymouth colony in Massachusetts, the year 1620, when 100 souls, Calvinists seeking religious freedom, boarded the Mayflower and ended up at or near Plymouth Rock. I doubt that they stepped off on Plymouth Rock. That would have been a pretty difficult task to do, but they began their stay in the New World here because they were seeking religious freedom. They had come across the Atlantic Ocean. They found when they got here that they were a bit poorly provisioned. And so it was going to be a tough winter because it was fall. The 100 pilgrims stepped off onto the Massachusetts territory and endured in the months that followed a very harsh winter. During that harsh winter, when they had very, very little to eat, when shelter was inadequate, 50 of them, that is one half, died. They were aided a little bit by the Wampanoag Indians, but there was still a bit of question about whether they were to be trusted, and on the side of the Indians, whether these pilgrims were to be trusted. But they did learn over that first year to hunt and fish. They acquired some Indian seed corn. And then, of course, they sowed their seed in the spring, and it grew, and the harvest came. Harvest time came. They determined to have a celebration of gratitude. It wasn't to be just a Thanksgiving dinner like we would have Thanksgiving dinner, but in fact, it was a 3-day event. And the Indians with whom they had connected heard the shots of their guns when they went out to get some fowl to serve as food for that celebration, came curious, wondering if it was something they should be fearful of, ended up staying, 90 of them, for that celebration. They too went out and shot some deer and brought them in, and venison was on that Thanksgiving table. So it's interesting to me, yes, those pilgrims were there to be grateful for the blessings that they had. But I think there were a couple other things and a couple other ways in which they were thankful. One, they still had a vision of a place where they could worship freely, where they could enjoy life without being repressed or suppressed. And so they were grateful in advance because they saw that vision of what their hearts were desiring. They also were thankful in an extraordinary circumstance. Remember that 50 of their number had died over that harsh winter. Some of them family for sure. So there was undoubtedly a grieving process going on. There was a huge sense of loss. And even in those circumstances, they were able to be grateful. That's what I'd like to talk about today. If I were to distill it into a sentence, I would say this: when we are all in on gratitude, we continually celebrate blessings, and we see and foresee good in our lives with eyes of faith. Let me say that again. When we are all in on gratitude, we continually celebrate blessings and see and foresee good in our lives with eyes of faith. This corresponds really nicely with a scripture from the Christian scriptures, the letter to Thessalonians, 1 Thessalonians 5, 16 through 18. Of course, 18, we know well. Give thanks in all circumstances. We've heard that a lot. But there are two very small verses that precede that, verse 16 and verse 17, as they are numbered. Verse 16 says, rejoice always. Two simple words. And verse 17, pray without ceasing. I think that corresponds with the blessings that those pilgrims celebrated, that vision that they had in advance for that which they desired, and their ability to give thanks in every circumstance. So let's look at those three things. Thanks for the blessings, which corresponds, of course, with rejoice always. This is sort of an easy one, but we don't always make the most of it. We celebrate blessings, if you will. We party over the good things that come into our lives. And we particularly do that on Thanksgiving Day at the Thanksgiving table traditionally. But we don't get the most out of it because we sometimes forget to do it every day of the year. And we sometimes look only at those big blessings, the new car, the new house, the bonus at work, some of those things that are just so obvious, those blessings. We don't look at the little things. We don't look at the little things, and we don't pass that on. We don't pay it forward by being grateful to others. Maybe some who have given to us, but gratitude to others in general, passing it on. We can do that with something as simple as a smile. Not long ago, we had in our morning cafe, we had the daily word smile. We had a wonderful discussion. And we got to know and feel that a smile changes things. When that gratitude wells up within us for the blessings we have, and we're able to demonstrate it outwardly, we're able to show it, then it's something that catches, and it does change things in us and sometimes for others as well. I had a wonderful opportunity to participate in a gratitude celebration. Well, I didn't participate, I observed. I spent some time in India, and I was staying in a resort town on the Arabian Sea. Beautiful sea stretching out in front. Beautiful sunset at the other end of the day. But one morning early, I was walking as the sun was rising behind me, and there on the sandy beach was a celebration going on. Excuse me while I turn my phone off. The celebration was what is called by the Hindus a puja. There was flowers galore, there was fruit offerings, there was incense, there were priests, and the energy of that place was just one of celebration, of rejoicing. And that's what those thanks for blessing really are. Rejoicing. And as that verse in Thessalonians says, rejoicing always. not just a few days a year, a few times, not just once throughout the day, but always. Then we think about the thanks that we can give in advance. My wife Donna and I have a gratitude practice, which we've engaged in for 4+ years, and I don't think we've missed a day. Every evening before we retire, we are grateful. We started, and this kind of took a life of its own and evolved a little bit. And so there are 5 areas in which we express gratitude or appreciation each evening. And one of those areas is we are grateful for something in advance. We see something that is not yet manifest in our world, and we're grateful for it. It's kind of like what we talk about in Unity, affirmative prayer. We know that there is a desire of the heart, and that very desire of the heart, meaning if you have it, there's a fulfillment available for it. And so in advance, we're grateful for that fulfillment. However it may look, and it may look different than what we think it will. And we, in fact, can claim that, knowing that divine supply is there with more than we could possibly need to fulfill the desires that we have. I really like the way the Buddhists use one particular word that's very affirmative to me, and that's the word may. In English, as we use it sometimes, it's kind of weak, but as they use it, I think it's very, very positive. In advance, as they look forward, they speak in very affirmative terms. There's a little song, it's really a prayer, that has 4 statements in it that I can't shake out of my consciousness. Well, actually, I'm glad I can't shake it out of my consciousness. It goes like this. May you be filled with loving kindness. May all be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. We could say the same thing. May I be filled with loving kindness. May all be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. That's looking forward with eyes of faith, knowing that which we harbor in our thought and in our emotions is what's going to show up in our life. And if we are focusing on those desires of the heart, focusing on that infinite supply, we are in a sense creating our future. With eyes of faith, we see what is not yet able to be seen with physical eyes. And we act as if it is so. We act as if it has already been manifest in a very affirmative way. We do this when we pray in unity. We perhaps have a concern or a need, and for that, we know that there are divine remedies for everything. There are divine strengths. There is a divine supply for everything that is needed. And so we don't petition, knowing that divine supply. We know that the divine wishes for us to have all of that. It's in the nature of the divine, and that divine being in us, it's in our nature as well to experience that supply. We intend it, we visualize it, we give gratitude for it in advance. The word thank comes from a Latin word, tungere. The word tungere is very similar to the root word, which is only the first 4 letters, tongue, T-O-N-G. Tungere means thanks, tongue means think. as we think, as we hold in our thought something, it produces that for which we are thankful. But if we get on the bandwagon and are thankful in advance, it speeds that supply to us. And then we get to that more difficult situation, to be thankful in every circumstance. Challenges come along in life, and they could be a challenge of something I need to do today, something that's part of what my week is, or my time at work, something that's coming up at this season. And those challenges face us, but challenges are also things that really are seemingly a catastrophe for us. Maybe a huge loss in one way or another, a loss of a substance, a loss of money, a loss of friends, a loss of a loved one who transitions to a life beyond this physical one. Losses, huge challenge. What about these challenges? What are they there for? If we believe that all is good in the divine plan, then we know that there's got to be something in that for us. We just can't see it. We can't back away enough to see the large picture. Challenges, however, do one thing, almost always, if we allow them to do that, and that's they make us grow. They allow us to evolve. They allow us to rise up. It's like sandpaper on a piece of wood. You're making a little woodworking project, and you take the sandpaper to it, and it smooths that rough edges, those rough edges. It makes that work that we're involved in shine. The same thing is true for us. The challenges, the friction that's in our life in one way or another allows us to shine. We do that using powers, the powers that we're given. You're familiar probably with Unity's 12 powers or abilities. They're also called abilities. The powers, say, for example, in this challenging circumstances, the power of faith, the power of strength, or the power of imagination to create a remedy for a particular situation, to find a way to get through and get beyond that which challenges us very much, to use it as a stepping stone and not just an obstacle. When in that gratitude practice that we engage in every evening, we give thanks for a challenge as well. And that takes the form of being grateful for my ability to do something. So when I am grateful for my ability to be a peacemaker, grateful for my ability to engage in empathy for someone who's really hurting, grateful for my ability to be at peace, even in that challenge. These are the abilities that we talk about in terms of the 12 powers. These abilities are ours, the ability to be wise in a situation. And that's what's called for in these situations that are very challenging for us. So we are giving thanks in every circumstance, facing all of the challenges. So all of these three things I've talked about, the blessings that we have, the gratitude that we give in advance of something actually appearing before our physical eyes, or the challenges that we have. How do we do that? I'd like to give you a suggestion or two, no, actually three, a suggestion on how we might do this. How many blessings do you think you have every day? Pick a number. what immediately comes to you? Is it 10, 20, 40? Get a piece of paper, make the numbers. Number 1 through 10, 20, or 40, or whatever your number is. Put that piece of paper in your pocket or someplace that you carry it with you. And every time, even that little blessing shows up, write it down. Another blessing, write it down. You'll bring into your awareness the great, great, great mountain of blessings that are ready to flow over you or have flown over you. Take that, give that a try. Count your blessings. You can share them too. That'll even empower it to a greater degree. Secondly, when you are giving thanks for something in advance, speak that which you desire. If you have this heart desire that you want, speak it, yes, in your mind, perhaps without words that are audible. Speak it audibly to yourself. Speak it out to those around you, perhaps like-minded people that can support you in seeing that which you desire, that gratitude that you have in advance. Speak it to a stranger. Speak the desire. The speaking of that empowers the very gratitude that you are giving. And thus that which you are seeing in advance speeds toward you. But what about that challenging situation? I have something that I put together called a ladder of faith. When we're in the challenging situations, we're probably on the ground, ready to take that first step on the ladder. And here's how it goes for me. Down at that very bottom, because of that horrible situation that has come into your life, that somehow is there, that you're dealing with, that you're trying to work on. At the bottom of that ladder is despair. You don't know what to do. You can't imagine how the situation can be remedied. You're almost ready to give up. You're in despair. When you find yourself there, it may take some time. Say it's a big loss. You may need time to grieve that loss, but don't stay there forever. Reach up to the next rung of that ladder, something just a little bit higher as you begin to rise up. Reach up to doubt. Not where we want to hang around for a long time either, but that doubt is a rung higher on the ladder. That's uncertainty, not knowing things are going to work out. It's certainly a step up from the despair. And then we move up to another rung of the ladder, the rung of hope. Beginning to see a little light here. Hope isn't a certainty, but there's something there that just makes me think like it might be okay. It might be possible for this circumstance, however challenging, to have a solution. Reach up, move up to hope. And when you're at hope, don't stay there either. Move up to trust. That low-level bit of faith, that idea that a risk can be taken, and it probably will be okay, that you can trust something or someone. Move up to that rung of trust. But it's not enough to stay there either. Move up to the rung of faith. Being able to have some confidence that the result that you wish is there for you. Faith. Seeing what's not there yet, but almost enough that it's tangible for you. Faith. And then faith is just the rung below belief. Belief is a knowing. That belief is built over time. As you hold your focus on that which you desire, affirm it again and again, you begin to build belief. And at some point, it connects with your inner knowing to be a knowing that is solid in your life. And then finally, you have the opportunity to move up to what I think is the top rung of that ladder, love. We know that love is talked about as the composition of the whole universe. All that we know, including us, comes from love. Not only do people like me talk about that, or people like you, even Albert Einstein saw that basic building block of all that is to be love. We don't always stay in that, on that top rung. That's a challenge as we mature, as we continue to stay in that elevated consciousness. But I challenge you to move up a rung on the ladder, wherever you are at in the challenge that you have. Reach up for that higher thing. Remember them again. Despair on the very bottom, then doubt, then hope, trust, faith, belief, and love. Going back to that sentence that I used earlier, when we are all on gratitude, we continually celebrate blessings and see and foresee good in our lives with eyes of faith. That's what the pilgrims were doing. They were rejoicing always for those blessings that they had. They were looking forward with eyes of faith, praying without ceasing, if you will, affirming, and then, of course, give thanks in all circumstances. I hope that you can make some of this truth a part of your life. As it resonates with you, you'll know how to draw it in to your consciousness. Take just a moment to reflect on this with me. Imagine yourself in a huge hall. You walk in through the front doors of this hall and it's expansive. You look up and you see above high colored glass windows letting in a beautifully hued light. It's a holy place. And as that light pours in, you look down on the level where you're walking and you see this blessing and this blessing. You recall that one and another one. You look more closely and you see that little blessing. One after another, after another. You know in a fullness the blessing that is yours as an expression of the divine. You walk further down that huge hall and you see a mist, through a mist, that there are some things that look like there's something that what you've always been hoping for, what you've always been desiring from the very core of you. They're in the mist. They're not yet something you can touch, but they're there in that mist. And in that mist, you know that they are yours to claim. And you are grateful. And then you look to the side and you see images of things that have challenged you. Really tough times that you have endured. You see the things that are right here now, where your challenges. And you know that that hue of that light from above covers them all. You feel the pain of them, those circumstances. You feel the difficulty, you feel the friction that's there. But you know that all is well. That even in the situation when you can get beyond yourself, you can give thanks. I trust that you'll be able to take this image of this great hall and these aspects of gratitude and be able to give thanks in all things. Thank you for joining me for this time and sharing these thoughts with me. And so it is.